And without further ado, I'd like to bring on my special Friday guest today. Here we go. Mr. Doug Leko is in the house, folks.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
I am doing well. It's Friday. It's end of the week, and we made it through another one. So that's good.
Exactly. It's been wonderful, hasn't it?
Yes.
So, by the way, I'm loving the quilt behind you, my friend.
Thank you. It's one of my favorites. So,
What's it from?
that is from Stashtastic, and we're going to talk about that.
Ooh, we are going to talk about that today. Yeah, so Doug Leko, for those of you who may not know, he is from Antler Designs. And do I understand correctly that you now work for Moda as well?
I do. I'm a sales rep. I've been a sales rep for 4 years in Minnesota.
For 4 years? Okay.
It's gone by fast. It's gone by really fast.
I thought it was just, I don't know where I've been, but no, that's great. So you're a super busy guy.
Yes, very busy. 2 full-time jobs.
Oh my goodness, wow. So we're incredibly grateful that you would spend time with us today because I know how busy you are. So thank you. And for those of you who would like to get to know him a little bit more, I can't wait for him to tell you his story. So first off, where are you joining us from? Because it's definitely not in Utah.
No, I live in Minnesota. So I live in the north side of the Twin Cities.
Yeah. Outside the Twin Cities?
Yep, in a suburb. So I'm
in
not in the
suburb of the Twin Cities. Do we have any Minnesotans? What do you call yourself?
Minnesotans.
Minnesotans, okay. All right, got it. Do we have any Minnesotans out there? All right, if you are from Minnesota, we want to hear a shout out because we got to see who your fellow Minnesotans are.
There's a lot of quilters here. So there's a lot of.
I bet. So tell us a little bit about you personally before you talk about professionally. We want to get to know who the real Doug Leko is.
So the real Doug, I love quilting. I've grown up in the quilting world, so I love that side of it. I love the fabric and all the designs and everything that go along with it. But I love to travel, and I love to eat, and I love sweet things. I like the salty. So I'm all up for good food, good restaurants. Also, just good for relaxing. I like to do that.
Are you a foodie?
I'm a foodie.
A total foodie.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite?
Oh, probably a good dessert. I would skip the whole main course and just do a dessert. Kind of like the nursing home. You prepare for the nursing home with have a dessert first because you just never know. And I love that. So I could totally eat like that all the time.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious! I've never heard that, but
it's probably a Minnesotan thing where you just joke about it. But
you got a point. Oh my gosh. Okay, so here's a question from Karen McDonald. She said, Minnesota transplanted to Ohio. Did Doug's mom have a quilt shop way back?
She did. We had a quilt shop, and that's kind of how I got into the industry. We had it for just over 6 years.
Really? So
yeah, we started when 10.
What was it? How many? How long ago was it, and what was it called?
July 29th of this year will be close 10 years actually, and we started 2005. Yeah, so we were just open just over 6 years, and it was called Silver Lane Quilting.
And where was it at?
It was probably 20 minutes west of where my parents live.
Okay, all right. So it must be Karen must live there or know something about it, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So is that how you got introduced to quilting, or what happened?
My mom has sewn and quilted her whole entire life. And it was one of those where when I was 5 and spending time with her, anytime, younger, and it was in her sewing room, she's like, well, I'll teach you how to sew and quilt. And so she always did the cutting and the pressing, but I got to do all the sewing on the sewing machine with her. So it was always fun. Yeah. And then dabbled in it when I was 5, started, 5, 6. And then at age 8, I took a kids summer camp at a quilt shop that we frequented often. And
way.
At 10, we opened our quilt store in our basement online, and then brick and mortar after that, and then with all the quilters coming in, because there's always great inspiration, great colors, and there's lots of different styles, of course, in the quilting industry, lots of great people. So our industry filled with lots of awesome people.
It's so true.
I kind of just got sucked into it, and it was a lot of fun. And then at 14, our rep at the time was Formodo, and she, her name was Eileen Taylor, and she designed Holly Taylor, still does design Holly Taylor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was a rep as well, and having another side job. And so she did Holly Taylor on the side as well as all the repping. And she's like, hey, you should get into it. It's a great industry. You'll love it. A lot of great people. And I was like, yeah. It took me about 2 years to write my first pattern. And then after that, it's been a crazy, it's like 12 years already. Yeah, it's been crazy.
Your mom is probably so proud of you. Like, look at what happened. Look what my son is now
We have
doing.
a good time together.
How fun. Do you still quilt with her? And
we still do quilt together. She makes some projects for me. She always says like my passion or my work is her like hobby. And so she likes to take her time. She's a much slower sewer than I am. I like to speed sew, get stuff done, and she enjoy the process. Yes.
That's good. That's good. You know, now I'm starting to make a connection. When you said Holly, well, it's not Holly Taylor.
Yeah, it's Holly Taylor.
It is Holly Taylor.
Yeah, there's two ladies. So two gals that are behind Holly Taylor, the name.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, you used to, like in the beginning, didn't you put like you did everything with Holly Taylor?
Yeah, so I would do I'd do a Christmas book. So 8 years in a row I did a Christmas book featuring the Christmas line. I do patterns and product support. I still do pattern supports, but now it's kind of more individual single patterns, but then I'll feature their fabric in some of the books and stuff, but not everything's Holly Taylor.
Here's the question. When are you going to have your own fabric?
I don't know. Nothing yet. I do have a pile of, ideas and things like that for one day, but nothing yet.
I know. I keep thinking it's just a matter of time because for so long you have supported, I would say, with your patterns, you have supported many quilt designers out there. And so I think it's time for you to be the star.
This is one of my favorite. This is like my favorite side of it is doing the patterns in books. I really enjoyed it. It's one of those I'll get kind of, they always talked about you kind of just get in the zone and I can just write a couple of patterns or write a book. And
that's amazing.
I think when I did the first Tabletastic 1 book, I wrote that over Thanksgiving 2 years ago. And it was just one of those, I sat down over the weekend, did the 100 pages. And
whole thing?
The whole thing, yeah.
In one weekend? Are you kidding me?
So a long weekend. So I'm not going to say like 2 days, but it was a long weekend. But it, you just kind of get in the zone. And over the years, you just, get the, get all the skills, get all the type, and I'll get all the fonts and all the diagrams in an easy access.
Oh my goodness. Well, I have to tell you, your directions are phenomenal.
Thank you.
And I mean, truly step by step on how to do all of it.
I'm very OCD, very, very anal when it comes to
well, we like that.
Projects. Yes.
We like that as quilters because we really want to have great diagrams. We want great charts that tell us exactly what we need to do. There's just no guesswork. It's like, this is so fun. I love, let's see.
And everything's labeled. And I always give the pressing instructions because that's one thing I know.
I think that's the cutest table.
The Queen's Garden. Yeah.
Yes, I love that.
I got one of those to show off today.
Ooh, let's take a look. So Doug, was this your first book you've ever written?
No, that was number 17.
Okay.
I have self-published 19 books now.
Okay.
But I have done one book with Martingale, and that's the Stashtastic. Otherwise, they're all self-published.
Hashtag, where has Kris been? I'm embarrassed to say, oh, is this your first book? Oh, no, I've done 17. Okay.
So I try to do a book every year. For a while when I first started, I did a couple books a year, and that was too much. Between all sewing all the samples, daily life, everything else that goes on, it's just kind of a lot. When you're doing a book, it is a whole encompassing project. It takes a long time, takes months doing the edits and the sewing and all the photography and everything. So I do all of that.
You do all of that?
I do all of the photography, all the graphics and everything. So there's a lot to it.
Oh, there is. Yeah. Plus you're a rep for Moda?
Yeah, for Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, yeah.
How are you managing all of this?
I love it. A lot of late nights. I'm an early morning person too, so I'm up at 4 or 5 o'clock.
Wow. That is something to think of, all that you can get done.
I always say, like, I used to be way more productive in high school
Ah,
because I'd get up early and go to high school, come home on the work program, get home early and get a lot more done. Now it's
oh
longer
my
days
goodness.
driving and different things like that. So it's, hotel
Un-
stays.
oh yeah, yeah. That is pretty amazing. So now we stand corrected. You now have 19 books.
Hmm.
Is that correct?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, there we go. I mean, I have a lot of your patterns. I
I
just
was going
didn't
to say there's
realize.
100 single patterns too.
Yeah, it was like you've got lots and lots of patterns.
Mhm.
So
And I always tried it
seriously.
with the single patterns. I always try to make sure that they have a lot of multiple sizes and they kind
Hmm.
of follow the same, principles as far as the books do, go with the great
Yeah,
diagrams, color
yeah,
instruction,
definitely.
labels,
Hmm.
pressing, all that. Because that's such a big thing when you're trying to make a project.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
how I always say, like, life happens. So
Hmm.
you might be working on a project, you have to put it away because you have to go somewhere. You
Hmm.
get distracted by a new project because that definitely happens.
Hmm.
And if you put
Hmm.
it away and come back to it, you can pick it up. I always say, everybody, just it's don't overthink it. It's super easy. Just read it from the beginning. You're good to go.
I love that. That's a great way to look at it for sure. Len said that is amazing. Does he have more hours in a day than all of us?
Yes.
Yeah, I wish. And Joanne shared, creative people seem to have tons of energy. What a blessing. And then Heather shares that the books are great. I want to make multiples of some of the table toppers and make them into a quilt.
That has
Has,
happened a lot. So
has
I
that
found that
happened a
out
lot?
last year with the first table runner book. A lot of
Hmm.
people were taking them and making them into a lap size quilt, like behind me, or they were just making
Yeah.
them into a bigger quilt than that. And they're
Oh,
easy to do that. But also people were doing the opposite, where they're making the table runner into a placemat, or
okay.
they're making it into like a little trivet, or they were making a small little door
Hmm.
hanger. So everybody. I love how everybody just takes and does their own inspiration.
Oh, absolutely.
Changes
I
everything.
bet that's the most rewarding thing as a designer is to see what people do with that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the
Hmm.
colors. I love seeing everybody sew, what everybody picks to sew on. And as
Yeah.
far as with the fabrics and the sewing machine, and I love that. So.
That's wonderful. That's great. So you have some samples to show us.
I do. I
Let's
do.
take a look. Yeah.
So these are from the first Tabletastic book. And with the first Tabletastic book, it is spiral bound. Everybody loves a spiral bound. So when you open it up, it all lays flat. There are 20 projects in the book, and you have 14 table runners and 6 toppers. And it's full color instructions, and everything is shown in 2 colorways. So everything is pictured that way. So you have lots of inspiration. It's really nice from that standpoint. If you don't know if you like those colors, you can change it, and you can just see what some of the fun things that are in the book. So this is one of the runners in Tabletastic 1. So that's Queen's Garden. And then we have Windsor. This is a layer cake. So it's nice sometimes too with the layer cake projects. You don't cut up your layer cake as much, so you can see if you have feature fabric, you have something you don't want to lose the intent of the fabric.
So Doug, do you try to make a lot of your projects based on pre-cuts or not necessarily?
Yep, I do. So a lot of them are charm, jelly, layer cake. So the
Hmm.
first book there was a lot of charm pack, so 5-inch square friendly. And
Okay.
then the second book, there's been a lot of 10-inch square,
Hmm.
but you can use jelly rolls, charms, minis, Moda candies, and then mini charms.
Hmm.
Fat eighths, fat quarters. So it just depends. Sometimes, I always say you can
Mm.
use your scraps.
Yeah,
If
definitely.
you have like leftover strips from a jelly roll that, sometimes you always have those leftover pieces,
Yeah,
leftover, pre-cuts, you can use them.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, what are you going to show us next?
So then we got another one. This is a charm pack. So nice, easy. I would say this is a good beginner friendly. And then we have Commonwealth. This is just really pretty with the dark background. We have Liberty. This is one of my favorites in the book.
I like how that, I mean, that Liberty, it could
Yeah.
be done in so many different fabrics.
Yeah.
And there it has a little bit more of a Christmas feel. Am I
Yep.
right?
Yeah. So this was a last year Three Sisters line memoir
Mm-hmm.
or March Noel. But
Mm-hmm.
in the book, I show it in like some Zen Chic scraps that I had. So it
Mm-hmm.
has a different modern flair to it, which is kind of
Mm-hmm.
fun.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all just made up of one shape. Tri-Rex, and then it's all just twist and turn, and so it really is kind of fun. No special. You don't have to have really any special tools if you don't want.
Oh, and cool.
The backing. This is one thing I love to do is on the back piece them.
Yeah.
So you always can use those leftover layer, leftover layer cakes, leftover fat quarters. This was just part of fat quarters that I used, the leftovers. I'm kind of a big fan and big component of piecing the backings, so it's not just one fabric. And then here's another colorway. So here was the other one of Windsor that we had.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool.
Whoops, sorry, I'm getting you mixed up on here. There we go. So can you show us that one more time?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
You're good. So here's that one, and I'll show you the opposite as well. So you have and then here's the other colorway. So it's fun to see both of them, just the different styles. And then one of the toppers in the book, the London Wall. Now, all the projects for the Tabletastic 1 and Tabletastic 2 are named after places in the UK. I've traveled there once before, years ago, and I love London. It's one of my favorite places, and I love the UK, all the outlying cities and suburbs and towns, and they're wonderful. So I love the names. So I named all the projects in the first book and the second book with different towns and streets and the tube names and different attractions or people in the UK. And then this one is Westminster. This is a long runner, but this is one charm pack. And it's kind of fun. I did kind of the log cabin effect to a regular just star. And then I always like to use a cheater. I always like to have a cheater project. And so this is a great little cheater project. So if you have a feature fabric that you don't want to cut up in the middle and choose a charm pack, then you can always showcase that fabric in there as well.
Doug, where are these ones? Where are these samples out of? Are they out of Tabletastic 1 or 2 or both?
They're out of Tabletastic 1. So
okay, these are Tabletastic 1. Awesome.
Yeah, these are all Tabletastic 1.
Okay.
Yes. And then I'll just got a couple more. And then this is the Fun Tower Hill Topper. So that's one thing I always try to make, different difficulty levels. So beginner, intermediate, nothing ever is really too hard. But also you have a lot of different sizes. So the toppers all vary anywhere from a 14-inch topper all the way to a 32-inch topper. So it just depends, because I know everybody's tables are different. Some have farmhouse, tables. Some have small little, table for two. Just depends on what size. And here's another one. Here's a spool one. This one was really popular last year in the first book. And this one's great for all your little strip piecing in your block. You use all different scraps. These are all just different batiks. And then here's another fun charm one. It's called Trafalgar. And then the last one to show you is Soho. And this is kind of fun. I love this just with the kind of the ribbon effect that it has. And so those are just a fun sampling that are in the first book. And then this year I did the second one. And the second one is Tabletastic 2. And there's got 20 new projects in there as well as the table runners and the toppers. Everything's brand new in here. And again, it all follows that same principle where each project is showcased in 2 colorways. But there's lots of different styles, lots of different things in here. And I love this photos, just what it shows both the colorways with each design that we have to showcase. And again, it's spiral bound. This second one has a silver binding. I wanted the wire to be silver, so that way you could tell the difference between the first one, which is white. So, yes.
Wow, those are so beautiful. Everyone is loving them.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
And I do like the idea that, you could make these into a quilt, right? Like you're just going to do additional table runners, right?
Yeah. A lot of them just take and repeat the blocks, or they add,
Mm-hmm.
they add more to them, or they just take and times it maybe by 6 or 12.
Mm-hmm.
So it adds a little bit more piecing to it, but if you love piecing, and a lot of them aren't that difficult where you could just make them bigger.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. Okay, so let's see what questions do we have from everyone on that. First of all, Joanne is saying she loves the spiral binding.
Yes. I
For
probably will
sure.
always do that on my books going forward. I love that. Whether they're table runner book or not, I love
Mm-hmm.
that. It adds
I
a little expense, but it's wonderful.
but it lays flat, and I
Yes.
love that.
Yep.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Yep, Heidi says spiral bound is a great idea. Let's see. Let's take a look. Oh, interesting question. Debbie asks, do you mark on the patterns what quilting level they are?
I do not. I haven't
Mm-hmm.
done that in any of my books as far as like the level.
Mm-hmm.
But you could email me if you had a question on it. But otherwise, they're all pretty straight. I always say anybody can accomplish, whatever skill level. None of them are ones where they're going to be pair piecing or Y seamed or that are going to have insets.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all very doable no matter what your skill levels are. My pieces are always oversized. That's one thing I love is so everybody can trim down because our sewing is never perfect. Nobody, none of our
Mm-hmm.
sewings are the same. If you and
So true.
they're always a little bit different. So I'm a trimmer. I like to trim things down. And I'm not talking a big
I'm the
lace.
same. I'm
Good.
the same. Yep.
Yeah. I
Yep.
just want a little bit to trim down and make it perfect or make
Mm-hmm.
it somewhat accurate.
Well, it's like it all has to do with the cut. Like it's so impossible to do 100% cutting, pressing, then piecing it in, quarter-inch seam, all of the above. So it works well when you can oversize a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's times, of course, when you can't, like obviously like on sashing and stuff like that, and oversize on that. But for the components, I always say just help help as long as much as I can, just with having better success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting observation here that our friend Brenda said. She said, I like it better when they don't have the labels. I could never get mom to do anything beyond beginning because she thought she couldn't.
Oh, okay.
I love that, Brenda. That's really, really true. A great point.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Absolutely. Janet shares that it's the first time, let's see, seeing your work.
Thank you.
And it's beautiful. So very, very nice. Let's see. What other questions do we have about his books or anything like that?
I can talk about the Stashtastic too, the quilt.
Oh, yes.
So
yes,
this is kind of a book that started the Tabletastic kind of series, or just the tastic part, I always say. So in the future, I have other ideas for other projects or other things as far as different things with the tastic title. So kind of watch for that. But this is what started it, and this is Stashtastic. And so there are 12 projects or 12 quilts. And so if you're a quilt person, you don't love all the runners or toppers, these are all quilts, and they're all lap size quilts. The smallest one I think is 50 by 60, and then they go all the way up to 80 by 100. So there's all different sizes, but each of these projects in the book are fat quarter or scraps, and they're showcased in 2 colorways. And so that was one of the big things I wanted to do. I had kind of like a brainiac idea. I wanted to do 3 colorways, but then that was 36 quilts in like 2 months. It was like, okay, that's a lot.
I can't do that, right?
Yes. So it's fun to showcase.
You piece them all yourself?
I have 2 gals that help me, but I do a majority of the work. Yes.
Yeah.
I usually do all the binding. I love to hand bind. I can bind pretty fast.
Me too.
Yeah, I'll put a good movie on or put the fireplace on.
Oh yeah, for sure. So then, okay, so Stashtastic. That is 12 patterns for fat quarter friendly quilts. I love that.
Yeah. And it was one of those, I kind of wrote it like with my shop owner hat on, because at the shop, we always cut fat quarters, and so many, quilters, we love to collect them. They're like chocolates. And I talk about that in the introduction part of the book. And so we always go grab them. They're just fun to grab when you're, traveling around. They don't take up a lot of room in your suitcase. And so it's one of those that, you always want something to do with them. And then even in the back of the book, I gave you some options because, when you go on a shop pop or you go somewhere that you get fat quarters given to you, you always have like the ones that you don't necessarily know what you want to do or you don't really like anymore.
Right.
Like why did I buy it? I give you piece backing options. So those are actually on the website of Martingale.
That's a really good idea too.
So you can piece them. I don't think this one This one is just 2 fabrics, but there's
Mm-hmm.
ones where on the back.
Whoops. Uh-oh. Doug, I can't hear you.
Did I lose you?
Yeah, there we
Okay,
go.
there you go. Sorry about that.
No, you're
Incoming call.
fine.
Had to decline it.
Okay. Oh.
But sometimes I just take all the fat quarters, trim them up to a common size, and then just sew them together.
Mm-hmm.
So you have
Mm-hmm.
that.
Oh, great, great idea. Oh my goodness. So, somebody earlier, now I can't find the comment, but they asked, where do you sew?
I sew in my basement. I kind of have
Mm-hmm.
like a walkout basement, and so it's only surrounded by dirt on like the front side, and then it's
Mm-hmm.
windows on the other side. So you feel like you're up on a main level, but I have everything
Uh-huh.
downstairs and have my sewing table, and
Big sewing table, cutting
I have
table.
a koala. I got a koala years ago, and I
Oh,
love it. It's
isn't it
one of those
wonderful?
worth the investment. They're wonderful.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, they're worth it.
absolutely, absolutely. It just to have that much space and
Mhm.
have the organization. Oh, yeah, very, very nice.
I didn't realize this until like a couple weeks ago. They don't make the one that I have anymore. So I've had it that long. It's a treasure trove. So
Oh,
it's got the big outback, and I love that.
yeah,
And up
yeah.
higher, I love that, and it's flat.
Mm-hmm.
I love the flat surface. I sewed on a
Yeah,
so easy for the longest time, and then
yeah.
I upgraded to, I always say, like a big boy table, and got a nice big table where it's flat. Everything's flat. Your machine can go 90 miles an hour and it doesn't bounce. And
I love that. I love that. That's great. Let's see. Let's see. Sable said she's done a piece backing with leftover fabric, but never thought to use back quarters. So very cool. Okay, this is a great question that will probably lead us into our next discussion because let's see. For Doug, Jen is asking, what is the one sewing tool you can't live without? I
probably
have a feeling.
it'd probably be my tool, my simple folded corners ruler, but
Yep,
also a good iron.
and a good
I
iron.
love a good iron.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite brand?
I like Reliable. I've used them for years. We sold them in our store. They're a
Uh huh.
great quality brand.
Awesome.
Reliable.
Very
Can't live
cool.
yeah, pressing matters. We always talk about, it's like this, 1/4 inch seam. It's your cutting and your pressing. Because you don't
Mm-hmm.
want any pleats, you don't want any tucks, you don't want any, you want everything to lay really nice and flat. And I'm a big
Yeah.
steamer. I love to steam.
Me too.
Big steamer. Yeah.
Me too. And you get a lot of people in the quilting world that are like, "Don't you
No steam.
dare
I
steam!" And I'm
know.
like, "Are you kidding me? I
Yeah.
totally steam." You just have to be careful
Yeah.
that you're not pressing,
Yep.
like pushing those seams. But if you don't do that, then
You
you're
could
fine.
go. And I always say, like, steaming helps me kind of like hide some of my flaws or some of the errors. I'm like, okay, you can steam it into submission. You can get the geese back together. Because,
Mm-hmm.
those geese always tend to have, flying, flapping wings where they always are
Yeah,
way out, when they need to be. So,
totally.
issue. And I always just say, use the steam and just put it back to place. You're good to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Oh, I am so glad to hear that we are fellow steamers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
And they're
for
reliable. It's like a
sure.
little compact steam generator. So you always get a ton of steam in there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Yeah, Paula Kay says she loves to steam. It's the only way.
Yeah, exactly.
So someone was asking, what ruler are you referring to? And it is this one right here. Why don't you tell us, hey, look at that handsome guy right there. I mean, Doug, like you got your picture on there, man.
Yeah. So that was a couple of years ago. That was
Uh-huh.
But so the ruler that we're talking about is the simple folded corners ruler.
Okay.
And I will hold up the large one. It's easier probably to see without the glare. And so
Okay.
I started with the large one, and the large one is for 8.5 inch. There is an 8.5 inch square ruler. And so then it comes in a cute little bag, and it's got a little free project in there. It's a flying Dutchman runner. And so it's got a free pattern in there. And it is meant for cutting away your corners. So it's for folded corners, snowball corners, flip and stitch corners. So anything where you have a square, you usually draw a line corner to corner and you stitch on that line. You're going to use the ruler and you're going to cut before you sew. And now my favorite is the little mini. And Kris loves the mini as well. And you use the mini from anything from a 1/2 inch size. You could really go down to 1/4 inch all the way to 3.5 inches. And so it's just depending on the size that you want to work with. But a lot of people want the smaller one because they do a lot more smaller pieces, anything really under 3.5. But then there's a lot of extra markings on the ruler. So you can use it for like a regular quilting ruler. It's got a 1/4 inch grid on there. 1/8 of an inch, you can do everything you need, you know, cutting squares and rectangles with the other side of the ruler. And you can also do oversized folded corners, or you can do the exact size. Some people don't want to trim down. And then there's the instructions that come with it. And then you have the other instructions for the left and right-handed as well. And so here's a good example. I'll show you that. This is a good example of what you do. So you have your fabrics paired up, and then you're going to trim on the ruler, and then you're going to discard the little triangle or save that, depending on how big it is. And then you sew with your pieces, and then you're going to press with the iron. It's going to come out perfect.
So tell us, why would somebody choose to cut beforehand rather than just add the square and sew?
So it's always one of those. It's kind of like when you're trying to mark the lines. You mark, you line corner to corner, but then you go to your sewing machine and you go, okay, do I sew on the left side of the line, the right side of the line, down the middle? There's always that variable, and because we all sew different, not everybody sews the same, and it's always one of those. You sew on the line, you think you hit it, you think you did, you might have gotten it, but you flip it over and it never lines up perfectly in the corner. Right. Back on itself. I always drove me nuts. And so it's one of those, I like the fact that you can line up on the ruler before you cut all your pieces. So it's nice and accurately placed. Yep. And then you cut away the corner. And, people ask about the bias edge. Really, I'm a pinner, so I just put maybe a pin in there. But also if you're just, I'm a pinner. I'm a big pinner. I like to pin.
See, that's where we differ.
Well, then you'll be fine, because just don't stretch it. You'll be good to go. I always say, just if you're a starcher, you have the starch in there, so it won't stretch on you on the bias.
There you go. That's true. That is true. Yeah.
So that works as well. So you don't really have to be too concerned with the bias showing, or the bias edge exposed. If you just feed it in and gently put it through your sewing machine, you don't have to pull it or tug it, anything like that. But it just helps cutting it, and then you kind of can line up. Has the 1/4 inch seam built in. Right. It just
yes. Yep.
And it works great for any other shape. So flying geese, snowball blocks. So like I used it in this quilt as well, all on the different, the little pieces.
I love that quilt. That is so beautiful.
So it helps with even like your border strips, your binding strips, anything really with a 45-degree angle you can use it for.
Now that quilt, I think you told us, but remind us.
So this is Short Circus, and that's in the Stashtastic. That's in the
Stashtastic.
Yep, that's the Stashtastic. And so this one's also showcased in a Halloween version, as well as the scrappy one.
So Doug, that's what I was going to say, is it says for fat quarter quilts, but it's also for your stash.
Yes,
right?
It is. Yep. Like so in there, it talks about in the back of the patterns after each of them, like what to use if you're just going to use your scraps above the secondary alternate colorway.
Nice.
So there's a fun log cabin one. I have the other log cabin one hanging on the other wall, but it showcases the other log cabin.
Ooh, okay.
My little take on a log cabin, just a very traditional.
This one's called Short Circuit, the one behind
Short Circuit, yep. And so that's the one in the book.
Okay. And you know what? It looks a little different because depending on what you put as that 4 patch in the middle.
Yep.
Right? Yep. I love that. But as you said, let's see. You're looking at 16 fat quarters for that. And here's another picture.
And so that one has a scrappy background and like the scrappy border.
Yeah.
And if you flip the page and do the Halloween one, it has a single background, and then it has dark border. So it looks completely different.
Oh my gosh, it does. It really does. You have like this secondary pattern going on right there.
Yep.
Wow, that is really cool. Yeah, for a spooky version, use Halloween novelty prints in a single fabric background. You really give us some great ideas on how to do things, like change things up a little bit. I love that.
Make it your own. It's that was one thing. Like when I started the pattern company, I always wanted a lot of piecing or a little bit of piecing. It wasn't just so easy, but I do have some easy patterns now. But I wanted the variety, and I wanted to showcase that so you could really make it your own. And I wanted to tell you, I didn't want to make anything a secret. Because some things are always left so kind of up in the air, and it's like, well, how did you do that, or what's going on with this, or what fabrics did you use, or some ideas. So I always try to make it different. So in the book, there's always different styles. I even did a 30s version. There's an old pastel line. So it really kind of fits all likes. And
it really does. It really does. I'm just kind of mesmerized by now by really looking through this. Look at this. That's stunning. Holy cow. That's a lot of little pieces, my friend.
That one's probably, like, I would say, the most challenging one, but it's all oversized Husker triangles. You trim them down a little bit, and then everything's got sashing. So it's,
Well, see, there you go. Again, trimming things down, it sure takes a lot of the worry out of it, doesn't it? This is a beautiful version too. This is a little, more traditional. You've got some darker colors there. This is traditional, but it's such a pretty kind of a French blue.
Yeah.
Colorway. I love that. It's beautiful. You really have outdone yourself, my friend.
So that's kind of, I always like to talk about that. Stashtastic is the first one, and I have gotten a request to do a second one. So I'm gonna work on a Stashtastic too.
Look how different this is. Okay, so this is very traditional. You turn the page, and you've done it. It looks like, is this me and my sister?
That's all me and my sister. Yep, that was a whole bunch of fabrics that I had. I don't have too many like baby novelty, but I always seem to have a lot of me and my sister.
Which are really fun.
Yeah.
Amazing book. So that's more quilts. Tabletastic. You've got Tabletastic 1 and 2. When did 2 come out?
2 just came out like 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
So
hot off the press.
Yep, it's brand new.
It is brand new, and unfortunately, it's all out at a truck show right now, so you couldn't show samples. But I mean, if you loved what he showed with Tabletastic 1, here's just a glimpse of what you find in 2.
I can send you some runners when they come back as well.
Ooh, I would love that. I would love that. Okay, so again, take a look at this. Again, more traditional. And then you really made this into a fun, more fall Halloween feel.
Yep. So that combines the All Hallows Eve line that was uber popular last year as well.
Super popular.
The Pumpkin the Blossom that comes out this year, that's just shipping to stores right now, actually. So I kind of combine both of them because they work really well together.
Oh, yeah. This, you're looking at a little more wintry, Christmassy. This one more summery.
Spring, summer.
I love it. And again, the fact that these are spiral bound is so nice. I feel like it's just like one of those books that I could go, I'm just going to take this with me. I'm going to go to my sewing room and I'm just going to start playing. And this is my manual. Okay. This is my manual that makes it so simple to do. Way fun. Let's take a look at some questions here. There we go. When will his second book be out? Statistics?
Stashtastic 2.
Stashtastic 2.
I just started working on that, so that I got requests for. So I haven't put any pen to paper on that one yet, but that one will be probably coming in a year or so, 2 years maybe.
Good job. Give yourself some more time. Oh my goodness. Let's see. You do have another Thanksgiving this year. Thanksgiving
I know.
Weekend. You could, possibly pull that one together.
Yes.
Let's see. Totally awesome mixologist, Debbie said. There you go. You're a mixologist.
There you go. It's a good word.
That is nice. That is nice.
It's a nice label.
I like it too. Tina is loving every single pattern. Very cool. Yep, very fun. Let's take a look. I'm just kind of scrolling through real quick.
Do you have the other 2 patterns, single patterns that I sent in the box?
Yes.
Do you want to show those 2? Because I will talk about that. I don't have them right here, but do you want to hold those up and I'll talk about those 2 seconds?
I'll have to grab it from Jenny.
Oh, okay. Otherwise, I
in
can
the back.
grab it if you want. Do you want me to go grab it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go grab it.
Okay. All right. While he's grabbing that, I'm going to, we did a recent tutorial on his ruler. It was, Jenny had done it on the 3 at 3. So you can find it that way, or if you even just go to YouTube and search for, it is called the Simple Folded Corners Ruler. You'll be able to find it there and find out how exactly to use it. But it really is very user-friendly. The directions are right there inside, so it's pretty nice. Hi, guys. Okay, so Anne wants to know, were you featured in a quilt magazine a few years back?
Yeah, I've been featured in all of the major titles, I would say, back. I haven't been in a magazine in a couple years, but I was in McCall's. My first one was McCall's back in the day, and then American Patchwork and Quilting. There's newsletter. I've been in a lot of them.
Nice. Yeah, I know for sure you have. I think that's you're so incredibly talented. Absolutely. So, what show us your other patterns that you
So
have.
one of the other new ones is
Hmm.
this crown and anchor,
I love that.
and that's a fat quarter project that comes in 3 different sizes. And then we have this fun Frosty Friends. This is a cute little snowman one. It's fat quarter as well. And then we have a fun little ribbon candy, a nice little jelly roll. These are with a couple with their new lines coming out from Moda called Merry and Bright.
I think a lot of people are always looking for jelly roll patterns too.
Yeah.
So I love that. Love, love, love that. And Jenny and I were talking when we were taking a look today at the snowman pattern that you
Mm-hmm.
have. I think we're going to kit it and we're going to use like just a real pretty Essex linen gray in the background, have
Mm-hmm.
the snowman be white, and we're going to play around with that. So stay
Yeah.
tuned, guys, because I think it's such a darling pattern.
I want to do that snowman pattern with the blue background, and
Mm-hmm.
then do like white snowmen or just a bunch of low volume prints. I think that'd be really fun.
Definitely,
I don't think that I'm done
definitely.
working on that pattern, that one again. So I
Mm-hmm.
always like multiple
Mm-hmm.
samples.
That's awesome. Very cool. Oh my goodness, Doug, it has been so fun
Well,
having you
thank
today.
you. It's a lot of fun.
Do you have a few minutes that you can hang out with us
Yeah.
and to congratulate some winners that we have
Yeah.
coming up?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, because we have some great giveaways, including Tabletastic. But let me do a few things first. All right. Oh, I can't end my official interview
Not
without
yet.
first asking you the question. You guys, for those of you who've been with me for 3 at 3, you know the question that I always ask, for our Friday guests. What bit of life advice has served you well?
To always trust your gut.
Tell us why.
You always have that gut reaction or that gut instinct
Mm-hmm.
when things happen, and you kind of always know, okay, right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
We're human, so we can be wrong.
Yeah.
And always admit it, but it's always kind of that gut reaction to, oh, okay, I shouldn't have done that,
Yeah.
or maybe I should have tried that, or maybe I should have gone here or done this or done that.
Yeah.
Probably say
I
it'd be
love that.
gut instinct.
Trust your gut. I love that. That's great, great advice. Yeah, everyone's
You also
saying,
have to
yep,
live with
good one.
it, but
What's
I
that?
heard one. You always have to live with you always have to live with your decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard one the
Yeah.
other day. A gal was telling me this yesterday. It was you have to shake hands with your decision, and it was
I
like,
love
wow,
that.
that's a good one. That was really good. I'm like, wow, you got to shake hands with your decision.
I love that.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I gotta write that one down. You gotta shake hands with your decision. I love that. That's fantastic.
It was
I
like
love that.
I just kind of stopped and thought about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, you really, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's
The things that make you go, right?
a
Mm-hmm.